Namaste, Jai Hind, good afternoon, and a very, very warm welcome to you all to this wonderful one-day interdisciplinary webinar on rethinking humanitarian crisis, genocide, and collaborative silence, organized by Department of English of Ari Mahila PG College in collaboration with Indic Warriors. It is my pleasure to be your moderator for this wonderful webinar. I am Aparajita Roy, and on behalf of my entire Department of English, AMPGC, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to our honorable and eminent guest speaker, Mrs. Rati Hegde ma'am, and our respected principal, Professor Rachana Dubey ma'am, and our respected Dr. Bhanumati Mishra ma'am, head of the Department of English, and also all our respected teachers and faculties and participants. Also, it is to inform you all, the participants, that throughout the webinar, all your mics would be muted, and would like to request you all to kindly switch off your cameras for a smooth and easygoing event. If anyone have any questions, can put in the chat box. Your cooperation will be highly appreciated. Now, I would like to call our respected principal, Professor Rachana Dubey ma'am, for the blessing. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you. I'm audible. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for inviting me. And it's really a great pleasure that the Department of English of RMLA PG College and Indic Warriors are cordially in organizing international interdisciplinary webinar on the topic Rethinking Humanitarian Crisis, Genocides and the Collaborative Silence. Wait, please. 2 minutes. And the keynote speaker of today's webinar is speaker Rati Hegde, who is a very eminent and renowned public speaker. She is a prominent public speaker, a journalist, a column, and she writes for various magazines, and she writes specifically on politics, current affairs, women empowerment, spirituality, and is a follower of Sri Ramachandrapura Mutt. She's passionate about encouraging more and more people to charity and spiritualism and the saving of Indian breed of cause. So we have such an eminent speaker for today's session. I'm sure our students will be benefited by her knowledge, which she's going to share with us today in today's webinar among the students. The theme which which has been selected today, I think so. It's not only today's problem, but this problem, not only India, the whole world is facing this problem. I don't know why the people do this, though we have so many agencies, institutions, and to prevent all these things. But there are some breed of people who have been motivated, misguided to commit all such things, and unnecessarily killing the mass of the people. And usually this has been now, I think, politically, it is used politically to benefit themselves. I don't know, but by killing the mass of the people, how they get benefited by this. This is really a very big problem, which we have to give a thought to this and motivate the people and aware the people to not to do this. So today, Madam is Mrs. Hegde will be throwing a light on this, and I welcome on behalf of the RMLA PG College and the students and the department. I welcome her for coming and for accepting this her participation in this webinar. And thank you very much, English Department and Indic Warrior, for inviting me to share to be a part of this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now, I would like to request Dr. Bhanumati Mishra ma'am to say something about this webinar, and also welcome our eminent guest speaker, Mrs. Rati Hegde ma'am. Now, I leave the floor to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Aparajita. Rati ji, welcome to Department of English, Aryamela PG College. On behalf of the principal, Professor Rachna Dubey, and the management and all my department staff, I welcome you wholeheartedly for coming and engaging with my students on a topic which I think literary students of literature need to engage with, and they need to know what's happening around the world. So this webinar has a USP also. The unique thing about this webinar is that this is entirely organized by the students of MA final year, Department of English. And from the point of choosing the speaker to talking to you and sending you emails and deciding the theme with you, and constantly your generosity of accepting whatever small mistakes they must have committed on the way, I wholeheartedly am overwhelmed that you have accepted without an if or a but. I know you're writing, I know you're a public speaker, and your engagement with the civil society is immense. So I thought the benefit of your knowledge, your writing, your books especially, should come and touch my students. So I'm very, very grateful that you have accepted our invitation. Without much ado, I will now leave the floor for my friend from the Indic Warrior to talk a little about the Indic Warriors too, who are collaborating with us. All those who have joined us, I'm very, very thankful for this overwhelming response that we got for this particular webinar. This is a series of 6 webinars which we are going to have in the entire month of September. So we are starting with Rati Hegde ma'am. So Om Ganeshaya Namaha. Let us all wish the best for the students who are organizing this as a group. So students, organizing committee, well done. And I'm really, really proud that we could put an idea into, we could actually materialize it. So big cheers to my students and to all those supporting staff who have supported them. Thank you so much. I leave the floor for Avinash now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And namaste to everyone. Namaste to everyone. Rati Agri, ma'am, I've been a big fan of yours. I've been following you for quite a while, and the inspiration which you leave for the new generation and youngsters and people alike is something to which we really look forward to. I'm very excited to look forward to this talk. Thank you, Dr. Bhanumati ma'am, for giving us the opportunity. Principal ma'am, Arya Mahila PG College. And I think the students will leave a lot in terms of the thought process from this talk. Personally, I'm also looking forward to this engagement. A little bit about Indic Warriors. So Indic Warriors is basically a group of like-minded people where we have students and we have mentors from all walks of life, people across the world who have come together to work towards reviving the Indic civilization. Our utmost motto is to revive and instill the Indian pride in all of us. We involve in a lot of these ourselves in the ground projects in around Varanasi and other few cities on social causes, and we are taking up a few research on specific projects and career guidance for students. So this is a small, opportunity for us to interact with the students and try to reach to them and lend that helping hand if required from people who have already crossed that bridge and make a much more better or much more aware society, if you will. I leave the contact numbers and the email IDs if you guys want to for the students to reach out to us and work with us and engage in research activities and discussions on the same. So without I wouldn't be a lot of on this. Passing this back to Dr. Bhanumati ma'am, and thank you for the opportunity for this. Looking forward to the session.
Thank you. Over to Aparajita.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your precious words. Now, without much delay, I'd like to request Dolly Nagwani, student of MA Final Year, Department of English, to kindly share and introduce the theme of the webinar with us. Over to you, Dolly.
Thank you, Aprajita. First of all, I would like to say I'm feeling very happy and amazing for being a part of today's webinar. I'm Dolly from MA Final Year, Department of English. Good afternoon to one and all who present over here. Our respected Honorable Chief Speaker, Mrs. Rati Hegde ma'am, respected Manager Sir, Principal ma'am, and our HOD of English Department, Dr. Bhanumati Mishra ma'am, and all our faculty members and the participants. Further, I would like to continue with my theme, introduce the theme of this webinar, that is Rethinking Humanitarian Crisis, Genocide and the Collaborative Silence. With so many institutions being formed, the world is still hit by the atrocities of genocides. The prevention of genocide is a far-fetched dream because the application of conventions are still remain woeful. If we take UN, United Nations in consideration, these conventions are necessary but definitely flawed. This webinar aims to startle our thoughts as we try to find the rudder to our lost ship. Our pecks on the surface and we are overlooking to it. With this question, I would like to end our theme introduction. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dolly, for sharing the theme with us. It was very insightful and hope our audience have got the idea about the theme of the webinar. Now, without much delay, I would like to request Kiran Tudu, student of MA Final Year, Department of English, to give a formal introduction of our eminent guest speaker, Mrs. Rati Hegde ma'am. For this, over to you, Kiran.
Very good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Kiran, a student of MA Final, is fortunate enough to formally introduce our respected guest speaker, Mrs. Rati Hegde ma'am, to you all. Mrs. Rati Hegde is a prominent public speaker, a journalist, a columnist for various news portals and magazines. She has authored a collection of short stories, Tales of Bharat, thread with gems, collected with from glorious epic, folklore, and the history of the country. Tales of Bharat is an attempt not only to bring to us a treasure of stories, but also a book that would silently instill values in a curious mind. Mrs. Rati Hegde holds a post-graduation degree in commerce and has also done a course in journalism. She was a co-author of Setu, a monthly newsletter, and has also worked as an associate editor of Indus Scroll. She writes specifically on politics, current affairs, women empowerment, spirituality, and is a follower of Sri Ramachandra Pura Matta. She's passionate about encouraging more and more people for charity and spiritualism and for saving the Indian breeds of cow. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining in with us, and I welcome you wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Should I start?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. First of all, namaste to all of you all. And I'm extremely delighted to hear all, your youngsters talking so sweetly. I thank you all very much. I thank Principal Dubey ma'am also for welcoming me so warmly. Bhanumati ji is a friend, and I really thank her for coming up with such great ideas on getting the students to participate also, and get them to interact on various issues like this one also, and other cultural and civilizational issues also. It's an honor to be part of this. I do appreciate the work of Indic Warriors also, whom I keep in touch with them even on Twitter, on the social media. And it's really wonderful to see a group of youngsters of the next generation actually trying to, understand civilizational issues and work on it, or at least, think about it. That is the first step, of course, to working on this in the future also. If you do not think, nothing else goes ahead, isn't it? So coming to today's topic, a few minutes back, Principal Dubey ma'am, she made a very a nice point that we've been seeing genocides happening again and again, repeatedly, over this whatever period of history that is documented all over the world. We've been seeing it happening again and again. See, the thing about history is that if you don't learn from it, it is going to repeat again and again, isn't it? That's the first rule of history, that unless you learn from it, and unless you work towards preventing it, actively work towards preventing it from happening again, it is going to repeat itself. And genocides is one thing which has repeated itself all over the world continuously ever since people existed. In one form or the other, genocides also have existed. It could be because somebody wanted to take over somebody's kingdom. It could be because somebody wanted to change the civilizational structure of a particular place. It could be because of religious issues. It could be because of anything, but genocides have been taking place. This is the fact of life. Now, it could be one question that most people, at least in Bharat, would want to know. If that is the case, did we also have genocides? Because we know that there were so many wars in our country, isn't it? Now, one has to understand that there is a difference between killing soldiers of an army and committing genocide on the population or on the civil population. In Bharat, what happened is, because of the structure of our rules, of dharma, and very stringent rules on even wars taking place, the people who were really affected were not the civilian population. What happened is that two armies went to war, they fought, one army lost, one army won, and life continued as it were. A new king might come over and take over the administration of the land, might put in new taxes or whatever else, but it was not a genocide per se. As such, it was not a genocide. Genocides started when the invaders started coming in. Now, you might think that, okay, I'm talking about the Islamic invaders, but it is not just the Islamic invaders who started this thing of genocides. It started with even the Greeks and the Greeks coming in. Why was it that Chanakya had to rise up and mobilize people? He did, understand one thing. Chanakya not just mobilized Chandragupta Maurya to form an army. He mobilized even the working class to get involved in it. He mobilized even housewives to get involved in it, women and housewives to get involved in it. He also mobilized the Brahmins, the teachers of those days, to get involved in all this. Why did he do that? Because he realized that the invaders were not playing by our rules. They had their own rules, and their rules were very different from the dharmic rules that was followed in our lands. They did not look at only the warriors. They actually committed genocide on even the common man. Now, this probably was the first time that you see a resistance against a genocide taking place. Now, this is about this part was about Bharat, but let us talk about First, let me talk about what happens in a genocide and how people react differently to it. See, basically, men and women think differently in many, many aspects. Physically, we are different, that everybody knows. But even our thought processes are different in many aspects. One of the aspects that I would like to point out to when it comes to genocide is this, or when it comes to a humanitarian crisis is this, that men usually look at it from the viewpoint of what happens in, as far as business, as far as earnings, as far as trade goes, or even as far as life losses go. But women invariably think about their families and about their children. That is the basic difference between the way men react and the way women react to genocides. You might see that, when any genocide takes place in any country, you will see fleeing of people, right? But you notice one thing, that when the men are fleeing, they are thinking of taking their possessions and going first. But women are always thinking about their children first. Okay, even if if you want real examples of this, you could take an example right close to home. If you were to take about what happened in the partition also, women, they gave themselves up. They did not mind. I mean, they obviously minded, but what I'm trying to say is that for them, even rape was not as bad as getting their children cut. So they could bear the trauma, physical trauma, put upon themselves, but wanted to protect their younger ones. Okay. Now, this is not to say that the men have done anything less or something like that. It's not like that. I'm talking about a basic difference that takes place, because of which the genocidal trauma inflicted upon the men and women also is different. What happens is, the genocidal trauma inflicted upon the men is usually about slaughtering. Straight, the men are cut down, or their possessions are burnt or something like that. But when it comes to the trauma on the women, it is invariably in front of them their children are cut, in front of them their own daughters are raped, or in front of their families they are raped, the women are raped and all. So the trauma also is different as between men and women when it comes to a genocide, and because of this the reaction also is different. What happens is, now if you were to look at this from a very humanitarian point, I am talking about. See, when a government looks at a genocidal conflict or something, and the men who are usually, holding the administrative process when it comes to resettling people, they always think about, how houses can be rebuilt, or how trade can function again, how import and export can be done again. Whereas women invariably are thinking about how will their children have education again? How will their children be free again? How will their children be able to cope with the mental trauma that they have gone through? That is the difference in the way that women also react. And so when it comes to even the administrative process, where we find very much lacking is that, you will find that, okay, space is made for the genocidal victims, or, the victims of the trauma to live, but not much emphasis is given on their health. Not much, that comes much later. People think about staying, and people think about whether they are provided with food. But what is more important is that, in that short period of time that they go through trauma, if they are not treated for their health complications, whether it's physical or mental, then that trauma carries over to the next generation too. It destroys the health of the next generation too. And this is one thing that unless more and more women get involved in the rehabilitation process, these genocidal issues will not get sorted out. But unfortunately, we have seen all over the world that it is the men who are always involved in the rehabilitation process more, and the women always take a back seat. This is the fact of the world. Now, let me come to certain other points. When we talk about genocide, what all are we talking about? So first thing that we should be talking about or thinking about is civilizational genocide. We have seen civilizational genocide having, having happened through the ages in various civilizations, whether we are looking at the Romans, the Greeks, the Red Indians, or whatever happened in, let's say, in Australia, or whether it's the Inuits in Canada, or whether you're looking at South America, the Incas, Mayas, and all, or whether you look at even our country, the Hindus, all of us, the moment a civilization is touched, you will see genocides taking place. This is the first fact of life. Why? They are both connected. Because unless you want to destroy a civilization, you will not want to destroy its people. The basic idea of wanting to destroy any, society is that you want to change its civilization, or you want to make the whole civilization think of a different culture or get assimilated into a different culture. Now, does a civilization die very easily? If you look at history, you might say, oh yes, out of maybe 75 odd ancient civilizations that were there, only Hinduism has survived. So obviously it might mean that it is very easy to destroy civilizations. But no, that is not the case. It takes hundreds of years for a civilization to be destroyed. And that starts from first changing of the mindset of the people, making them feel shame where they should have felt pride, making certain people, that is the invader cult, they would like to feel more pride so that the original inhabitants of that particular region start feeling shame, start feeling depressed about being part of a civilization which is being oppressed. Then they also, change the way they earn. Okay, they impose, the invading cults will impose unnecessary taxes. Like, for example, in India, we have seen jizya being imposed upon if you wanted to keep on with your original, continue with your original religion and did not want to get assimilated to the invading religion. So, then what happens is they also have exploitation of men and women in the form of, whoever has lost gets taken away as slaves and everything like that. If all this has not yet worked, then starts the exploitation, the sexual exploitation of women. That is when your rapes, your wholesale rapes start, okay, of women or young children. Sodomization of young children also. All this starts when the earlier, all these other methods, the softer methods, did not give way to, let us say, the invading civilization to take over. Then starts your exploitation, killing, and sexual exploitation. And when even this does not do its work, then starts the rampant genocidal work. This is what has happened in the history of the world, in every part of the world. If you were to see, this is exactly what has happened. Like, even if you were to look at how the Christian faiths took over, they too did the same thing. What they had done in Africa, for example, they tried everything from, changing the language, from changing their culture, from changing everything, then selling them as slaves and killing them, putting them, making them do hard labor, sexual exploitation of the women and everything. And when all that went away, then they also started flogging people openly, killing people openly if they did not convert to the faith that they wanted them to convert to. This is how a civilization is gradually destroyed. So if I were to say that a civilization, if it takes so long to get destroyed, then should I be worried in today's world? Yes, I have to be very worried in today's world also, because one needs to understand that it took maybe about just 75 years for the entire vestiges of Sikh and Hindu civilization to be destroyed from Afghanistan. It took less than 50 years for people to try and destroy the Hindu civilization in Kashmir. Even if they did not succeed, the fact is that they tried their best through a genocide. Okay, as I said, even there, if you were to see, even in Kashmir, what happened is, I'll go back into history again also. In Afghanistan, what recently happened also, you have seen only one person, one Hindu survivor is remaining over there. That's because of the temple over there. And the rest of the people have been made to flee the land, isn't it? The Hindus and the Sikhs. Whereas if you were to see even 75 years back, you would have had lakhs and lakhs. You'd see lakhs and lakhs of Hindus still living in Afghanistan. We had a very good connection. People from Kabul came to India to trade, and we are from India also. People went freely to trade over there. Okay. Now, same way in Kashmir, as I said, there too, they tried everything. And if that has happened and it has not succeeded, even then over there also, they tried sexual exploitation. And after that, they even committed genocide. That took less than 50 years to happen over there. Then if you were to see, again, if you were to go back during the partition also, whether it was the East Bengal and that is Bangladesh, creation of Bangladesh, and West Bengal also, you'd find the genocide happened over there too. And similarly in Pakistan, in West Pakistan also, and in India also, when we had the partition taking place, that time also we have had genocides taking place, which is happening till today to only the Hindu population over there. Now, all this, it makes us think once that, but haven't we become modern? Haven't we got many agencies and, like the United Nations and everybody to speak up for us? We have so many NGOs all over the world, isn't it, to speak up for us? Why are they not speaking up for us? Now, this is where, as students, you need to understand what is actually happening in the world today. It is, what do you say? It is an attempt to destroy a country or a civilization or a race. It is an open attempt to do this by many countries of the world who do not care about the consequences of such things, because they control certain policies that go on in the world. Now, here, I think it's very interesting to understand what actually is happening. I'd like to say that there is a dichotomy. Why is it that certain genocides attract attention whereas other genocides don't attract attention. Like, for example, constantly you will keep getting news about how in West Bank, Gaza, Palestinians are killed and all that kind of thing happens. Like there's always a conflict between Israel and Palestinians. You will keep getting that news. Then you must have heard 100,000 times about how Israelis faced genocide. Have you ever heard about how people from Rwanda faced a genocide? Do you know about what happened to the Indians or the Hindus who were living in Uganda? I'm sure you never heard about it. Why is it that that happened? Because there's a dichotomy. Now, let me list out the dichotomies that exist. The first dichotomy that exists is that of the first world countries and the third world countries or the developing countries. If even a fly is killed in a first world country, it becomes news. But if entire generation of people are also killed or anything, mutilated in a third world country or in Africa, it does not become news at all, because the exploitation is so deep that the exploiters do not care at all about the exploited. So it does not appear in any of the news. The point behind the exploitation or the point behind the genocide itself is to make it easy for the exploiters to exploit that land more and more for maybe, let's say, their mining rights, for the marketing rights, for selling arms and armaments and everything. So you will never hear news about the genocides over there. But if ever there is a reverse thing happening, if one white is shot in Africa, you will find it exploding in all the newspapers. From this itself, you will come to know as to who is actually the exploiter and who is the exploited and who is actually doing the genocide and why. Second dichotomy exists between what we call the Islamic world and the Christian world. Now, if there is something happening in the Islamic world, for example, there is a genocide happening of the inhabitants of Afghanistan, okay? But that does not become news. People really do not care. Everybody is talking. If you pick up the newspaper and take a look at it, everybody will talk about how USA left Afghanistan and went. USA left Afghanistan in the hands of the Taliban, or how the Taliban has become the new ruler or something, or about how even there was a very convenient survey which happened very close to this event which happened just now, where all the people voted for Sharia. Now, nobody was bothered about what is happening to those women over there, the children over there, or even the men over there. Basic facts. When Syria, which was quite a well-to-do nation, it was definitely not a poor nation, when they had a genocide over there recently, about 3-4 years back also, nobody really bothered. Everybody talked about Syrian refugees coming to the white nations. Nobody spoke about how that country was destroyed completely. Nobody spoke about how those people were killed completely. The emphasis was only on the refugees. Now, can you imagine the depravity in the news channels giving us the news? You need to understand why this dichotomy exists. Now, then another very interesting dichotomy is that it is between the Abrahamic religions and the non-Abrahamic religions. Now, this is very interesting. When it comes to any of the Abrahamic religions troubling a non-Abrahamic religion, that time everybody will side with the Abrahamic religion. Your whole entire media, your whole I'm sorry to say this, but even the leftist academic people and everybody will side with the Abrahamic religion and show them to be really great. And I'm talking about all the three Abrahamic religions, that is, whether it is Jews, whether it is Islam, or whether it is Christianity. But when it comes to the non-Abrahamic religions, like we're talking about the Yezdis, they don't figure anywhere. Okay. Then what about Hindus? We don't figure anywhere in the in the talk in your International Court of Justice also. Like for so many years till today, the Kashmiris are trying again and again to get it marked as genocidal conflict, but even that is not yet accepted. For so many years, Kashmiris are saying we are not we are not migrants, but refugees in our own land. But if you see, they keep using the word Kashmiri migrants, which is a very wrong term to use for them. But no, they will never use those terms. Or like they have kept saying, the Kashmiri Hindus who were thrown out of Kashmir keep saying that it was not militancy. There is a difference between militancy and terrorism. But no, nobody accepts the term terrorism over there. It is only in India that we keep talking about terror, and we insist on using the word terrorism, so that some point of time, at least our history will be clear that it was terrorism. But if you see in the international media, they will always quote the words militancy. This happened in India even when the Sikh conflict took place, like the Khalistanis, those who believed in Khalistan, when they were doing their, terror attacks in Punjab, that time it was called militancy, Khalistani militancy. And the same thing happened when after Indira Gandhi ji passed away, and that genocide, the Sikhs were killed in return, that genocide took place. That time also you will see it is just called a riot, Hindu-Sikh riot. Nobody talks about it being a genocide. Both ways it was a genocide, but nobody will talk about it. So, it is very interesting that certain terms are used very, very remarkably when it is dealing with people of Abrahamic faith, and when it is dealing with people of a non-Abrahamic faith, softer terms are used. It is not even quoted as a genocide. And then the other very important dichotomy or differentiation that you would see is war and covert war. Okay, so when it is a war, that time, they will say, oh my God, so many people died in this war and all that kind of thing. But when it is a covert war, like what is happening with terrorism, that time there is absolutely no, you will not even find any statistics about actually how many people died in that covert war. This is the saddest part about genocides, that when it is a war between two countries, you will still find some, statistics. But when it is a covert war, like what we have been facing with Pakistan, and over the year, we've lost our army people also, we have lost our civilians also, and so many people have died, we will not even find the exact statistics. So this bungling of the statistics is what actually happens. Now, there is one more genocide which happens all through history, and that is the cultural genocide. Along with people being killed, the culture of a land also is killed. Like when we saw the Buddha statues being, blown up by the Taliban in their first phase in Afghanistan, everybody said, oh my God, the Bamiyan Buddhas have been killed and everything. But nobody, the Bamiyan Buddhas have been destroyed, huge, sculptures have been destroyed and all. But how many people actually spoke or wrote about how Buddhism itself had disappeared from Afghanistan? If those Buddha statues had to be there, it means obviously that Buddhism must have been a very prominent religion over there in that country at some point of time, isn't it? But there is no talk about that happening ever. So that, the cultural genocide of a place is something that is very rarely spoken about. In the cultural genocide, you lose your sculptures, you lose your places of worship, you lose skills. Like, for example, in India, we had thousands of weaves. Every state had at least hundreds of weaves that took place. Every 150 kilometers, you'd find a different weave in our country. You'd find that is all fading, and now people have to make that extra effort to protect certain weaves, at least certain important weaves, at least. So, there is nothing, no count of that. You lose your paintings. Your styles of paintings. By paintings, I don't mean just, that art. Even the styles of painting you lose. Like, there is nobody to teach you about it. You lose your pottery, which was, a very important part of any culture anywhere in the world. When they go and dig for artifacts, first thing that they find is pottery of those places. But we forget how it was made. We forget how those toys were made, and nobody has any recollection of that. You lose language. One of the most important things is we dream in the language we are most comfortable with. When it comes to the next generation, if a cultural genocide has taken place, you lose that language, you lose that, that connect that you have with your past, with your ancestors. This is the saddest part about the cultural genocide. And this is something that everybody routinely is very quiet about. Nobody speaks about this at all. Even if you find people somewhere or the other talking about human genocide, I think very, very few people talk about cultural genocide. And that is a very important thing. Now, before I end my talk, I want to say one thing. See, all this is, okay, all this has happened. But are we going to continue on these lines is what we need to think about. As youngsters, what you'll need to think about is, okay, supposing something like this happened in our country, since we are the only remaining civilization, ancient civilization, which is still alive and kicking. Obviously, we have continuous attacks on our civilization, the latest being that dismantle Hindutva or whatever, title they give. It does not matter if they can give 100 fancy titles, but it is a kind of a genocide. As I said, it is a cultural genocide that is going to keep happening to us. We also face the physical genocide via terror attacks and everything. As far as our country is concerned, how do we prevent this thing from happening, or what should we do to protect ourselves? First and foremost, in my opinion, what every single one of y'all can do is do find out more and more about your own civilization, do learn about your civilization, try and get as much information and knowledge as you can get about your own civilization. It does not matter about, religion alone. Your civilization is bigger than religion, though yes, it has come because of a particular dharma. There is no doubt about that. But to protect it, you can belong to any religion. Do learn about it. Do learn about how you can spread this knowledge also. Because if you keep it only with you, it does not, then you become like that black hole, isn't it? At some point of time, it has to burst and give rise to other stars also. So that's what you all too need to do. You all need to disseminate the information also that you get. And it has to be like, of course, right now it's only about you all are of this generation. But whenever in the, in the coming years, you'll also need to see to it that it is disseminated to the next generation too. This is what, and this is the only thing that we can keep doing to protect our civilization and to keep it moving and alive for many more generations to come. I think I have spoken for a decent amount of time, and I think I'd like to end this particular topic over here, if that's okay, and take any questions.
Thank you so much, Ratiji. What an insightful talk. How you have shifted the paradigms of how we look at ourselves in the world, and how do we grapple with what's happening around us. It's not possible for us to stay in a cocoon in these days, because we are bombarded with all kinds of media. How do you deal with it? What is the truth? How do you get into it? And of course, at the individual and at a civilizational level, you have to balance these two beautifully, and that too very quickly, because I think it's an urgent need, and we are going a spiral. We are spiraling down in a way. So the need of the hour is to quickly come together and do something that our oldest civilization on this planet doesn't get as extinguished by the madness of a few people, or just because their belief systems are such that they don't allow others to flourish and lead their own kind of life. So this kind of a mindset has to start from the academia, from the younger generation, and that's the reason why you have very rightly put it into our young minds. Thank you so much. I think we can go ahead, Aparajita, with the questions now.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful information, and it was very, very insightful. And now I'd like to request Madhvi Singh and Himangi Vora to kindly start our formal question answer session. Also, I'd like to inform you all that the feedback form will be shared in the chat box, and you all requested to fill the form up. And now, without much delay, I would like to call Madhvi and Himangi. Over to you.
Thank you, Aparajita. Thank you, ma'am. Now I'm going to start questions round, and we have set of questions for you, ma'am, and we are eagerly waiting for your answers.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. So the question is, Syria has been facing civil war continuously, which leads to killing of innocents in bombings or retaliation. Why world has failed to address the issue despite having understanding of human rights and having near universal world agency like UN? This question is asked by Anupa from MA final year. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Well, Anupa, as I said, first thing is that in this war of information that is given out to the world, Syria is an Islamic nation. It was majorly an Islamic nation. So unfortunately, I don't know how it sounds. It may not be politically correct when I say this, but the Christian worlds do not give so much importance if there is an internal conflict in an Islamic nation, or they think that it's all right. They will manage among themselves. The other reason why people do not talk about is also the Islamic policy of hijrah, that is allowing more and more Muslims to shift and move to other lands, to occupy other lands and spread their population over there. That is why I had said that when they talk about Syria, they always talk about the refugees, because they know what is actually happening. They know why the Syrians do not want to sit back, or they do not sit back and try and protect their own land. This is exactly what is happening in Afghanistan also today. If you see, you must have seen visuals and videos of the men alone escaping from Afghanistan and going to other lands. They did not take their wives and children along with them. You must have seen many videos of that. This is the policy of hijrah, where they want the Islamic people to go and populate other lands and increase the Islamic population in non-Islamic countries. Both these reasons together, one, that it is an Islamic country and so nobody is bothered in the Christian world about it. Second, this thing about the how to spread Islam. These two reasons are actually the main factors why it is not spoken about so openly and people have all but forgotten about the civilians of Syria who actually are still living there and in dire straits over there, or the actual genocide that has happened. This is the fact. Now, ऊपर से आपको कुछ भी information मिल सकता है, that is a different thing. But the fact why the media does not speak about this is this. Next question. I hope this.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. My next question is, military siege in Myanmar and subsequent genocide has raised questions of efficacy of role of UN. Could you please tell us where UN and top world leaders have failed to stop such incidents? This question is asked by Navya Tripathi from BA final year. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Again, the UN is just a puppet of certain countries, certain first world countries. And I mean, we have seen even during the Corona crisis, where the UN has not even bothered even once to place the blame on China from where the COVID, was generated. Same way, when it came to Rohingyas also, or the supposed genocide in Myanmar on the Rohingyas, the fact is that the UN is not going to open its mouth even once if it is a non-Christian land, or when it is a non-Abrahamic land. Basically, they are not going to talk about it, whether it is the Rohingyas being killed, whether it is the Buddhists being killed. They are not going to talk about it. And all they will have is maybe once in a year, there will be a representative of Myanmar coming and talking over there, or somebody from the Islamic world coming and just showing, speaking for 10-15 minutes. But more than that, they are not really going to do anything about that. In fact, a little more than all these people, our own country army has done. Our Indian peacekeeping force has done much more to prevent genocidal conflicts than anybody else. This is how it is.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Your answer is so informative and knowledgeable for us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now my friend Himangi will continue further. Over to you, Himangi.
Thank you, Madhvi, and thank you, ma'am, so much. Ma'am, you were really very inspiring. Ma'am, my first question to you is asked by Neha Chandran of MA Final. The question is, recently Taliban has toppled the democratically elected government in Afghanistan. Does it threaten the democracy in other countries and may make such groups more confident to topple the government, which would ultimately take to toll on human rights? Over to you, ma'am.
See, democracy itself is a concept which is very questionable in today's world. If you go to see, like for example, in the US itself, if you see, when there are only two parties competing, what happens is people have to choose between left or right, or white or black, or whatever you want to call it, the donkey or the elephant, isn't it? In US. We think that we have a choice, but democracy always works this way, that whether you choose this or that, the end effect is going to be the same. This happens in all countries. It has happened in Afghanistan also. If you see in our neighboring country of Pakistan also, you will see the same thing happening. That way, Imran Khan was elected democratically, apparently, but the real rule is with the military over there. Same way in Afghanistan also. It was a democratically elected government which survived because of help from US. The moment US decided to withdraw its help, that democracy collapsed. Okay. And now with Taliban coming in, you want to know whether it is going to affect the democracy of other countries. Well, it is up to the country itself and its people itself to understand what is actually democracy and how they want to work with it. If they do not want to, if they do not understand and they, blindly elect any government, This is going to happen in every country. It does not matter whether it is happening in the US. Even in the US, this has happened, where the current government there is there not because they were democratically elected. It is a complete farce. That election itself was also a farce. And today, when they have withdrawn support to the democratically elected government of Afghanistan, we see that they are willing to accept Taliban as the new government over there. And not just they, already 4 countries have given their complete support. That is the 4 countries which matter the most for Afghanistan. That is Pakistan, China, US, and I think UK or some other country also has already accepted. And slowly, slowly, they will make sure that everybody else also accepts the Taliban only as a ruler. What can you do about that? It is just a game of who is the one controlling the arms over there. It is as simple as that. Whether it's difficult for India, yes, it is. But I'm sure our government will be having better ideas than me on how to control the situation over there.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, my next question to you is, ma'am, what do you think that is genocide religious psychology or an ethnic conflict or commercial issue, ma'am? Ma'am, can you say something about the genocide in Kashmir and Kerala? Ma'am, this question is asked by Shivangi Rai of MA Final.
Okay, Shivangi, it's like this. It is a combination of all 3. Whether it is genocidal because of religion, whether it is because of commerce involved, or whether it is ethnicity, it is a combination of all 3. Now, how would you say that, if it is religious, then how does it become part of commerce, you might ask? Well, it's like this, that you will see everywhere in the world that if they are able to get control of the riches of their land without being successful in converting the people, they are open to that also. It's like the Abrahamic religions have been very clear in their mind that at the end of the day, it has always been about money. So you will find that, even in Kerala, what happened is the whole of North Kerala, the Malabar region, they wanted to control all the trade from the Malabar region, that is the trade of rubber and spices those days. And that is how the conflict began. If you all know a little about Kerala and the Mopla uprising and everything, it was like this, that North Kerala was the one which was in control of the spice trade and the rubber trade, which was very, very important in those days. So they had to take control of that. So how do you take control of that? Through business, they were not able to control that. So they used religion as an excuse to commit the genocide over there. And once the genocide was committed and the people were converted and the rest fled from there, they took over the complete trade of that land. That is what happens everywhere, in any place. Today in Afghanistan also, it is a Muslim fighting against a Muslim. It is not, anybody else coming there. It's not religious alone over there. Though they might say that, Taliban is more religious or something like that. I mean, you can give any labels to that. But at the end of the day, those people are only interested in either the opium trade that is happening via that land that is worth billions and billions of dollars, maybe even trillions of dollars. And then the natural minerals that are there in Afghanistan, and who will finally control that. So on the face of it, it may look like a religious, struggle, but the fact is that the wheels within the wheels will always point out to the commerce angle. Never lose sight of the commerce angle. It is always about commerce. It is nothing to do with anything else. Thank you. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for inspiring us with your answers, ma'am. Ma'am, now I would like to ask Aparajita to take this forward.
Sure.
Madhvi?
Yeah, Aparajita, before anything else, I just realized I forgot to tell one thing, Please, may I just talk about that?
Yes, ma'am. Sure,
See,
ma'am.
it was about the children of a genocide. What happens is, if any of y'all have read Rajat Mitra, he has written a very nice thing on the children who are struck by terror or genocide. And he has made some very clear points, which I'd like to just tell you all about. And that is that children of terror have no hope. They have no dreams. They literally do not have dreams, because all their dreams are actually nightmares, because they are continuously playing the violence that they have seen in their mind. They do not have dreams like the rest of us have. So then they do not ever listen to bedtime stories, because their own moms also are so continuously traumatized or working for survival that they do not have the time for bedtime stories. So that also affects their mind. And another thing is, because of all this, they do not have any value systems that are encouraged in them. And the future that they see is also always only about terror. They do not see a future of peace, like how regular people like us, we think of, peace and education and all that kind of thing. They do not even look at it that way, because they have grown up without thinking of all these things. And their heroes are invariably, again, terrorists or those people who have won the war. Now, this is the saddest part about the children in any land where there has been terror. They really think that might is right. And an example of this is Kashmir, and how the people during that conflict period, they actually looked at uh, those who were either terrorists or those who promoted terrorism as their heroes. Like, for example, Burhan Wani. By no standard would he be a hero for us, but at that time, for those people, those children over there, Burhan Wani was an idol to be emulated. This is the sad part about the children in land of terror. This I had missed telling you all, so I just wanted to let you know. Please continue, Aparajita.
Ma'am, there is one question.
Sure.
From Avinash, Indic Warrior.
Okay.
OIC Organization for Islamic Organization of 57 Islamic countries also never discusses any conflict situations related to Middle East crisis, but always focuses on enabling the refugee movement from conflict areas.
See, that's what I said, that there were two reasons why nobody talks about it. That one reason was the policy of Hijra, that is, allowing more and more people to go and populate those lands where Islam is not the major religion. So the OIC will never talk about it, because they are not bothered about that. They would definitely like their menfolk to go and populate other areas and what do you say, convert those areas. That is a fact, and that is why they do not take in refugees or anything, or even if they do take in, it is a very small number that they take in.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, there is another question.
Okay.
From Amit sir. As you obvious biases against non-Abrahamic religion in academics and UN, how one can counter this narrative? No one will hear you if you are not speaking from big platform, but unfortunately these platforms are controlled by biased organizations.
This is absolutely true. We are facing this even currently, like as I just said a few minutes back about dismantling global Hindutva or whatever. It is a fact that the academic world is now controlled a lot by the leftists. There is no doubt about that. But I have seen one thing, that when you are talking with facts and references. This is one thing that we need to learn, which we have not learned, unfortunately, in so many years. And it is only now that you are seeing more and more youngsters and all coming up with their papers where they clearly quote certain, what do you say, newspaper articles or research work or something. We need to somehow start quoting only credible facts instead of just opinions. The moment you start quoting credible facts, I have noticed that these people do not at all have a scope, even 1 inch scope on refuting whatever we say. See, it's, they are believing in this, that, you tell a lie 100 times and it becomes the truth. Whereas we have the truth on our side. We have all the information which is completely truthful, which will give complete information of the genocides that have taken place in our country and or to our civilization. We just need to start putting it in paper and start publishing it everywhere. When you keep doing that, see, you can stop 1 publication, 2 publications, but you keep doing that and you keep sharing that, they have no choice but to accept that there is a body of work where people are actually quoting on facts. An example of this is how the Aryan invasion theory has now been disproved. Nobody wanted to listen to it even 20 years back. But today, with the quoting of actual facts, with all our excavations and information based on that, and with our gene theory, which we have actually started putting down on paper, they had no choice but to accept that the Aryan invasion theory was complete nonsense. Yes, people are still holding on to that, but it is just a matter of time before even that is dislodged. We have to keep talking about it with facts, as simple as that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We are very, very enlightened by your thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was a wonderful feeling to listen to you. And now finally we come to the end of our event, and we like to extend our gratitude towards you all. And for this, I would like to call our respected Pratima Singh ma'am to give a formal vote of thanks. Thank you so much again, and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Aparajita. Very good afternoon to the one and all present here. Honorable Chief Guest, Ma'am, Rati Hegde, respected HOD, Department of English, Dr. Bhanumati Mishra, Ma'am, and all our faculty members and all the participants. It is such an honor for me to get the opportunity to thank all the dignitaries present here. On behalf of the entire group, Department of English, RMLA PG College, I express my gratitude to all the esteemed delegates of the webinar for their presence and contribution to make this webinar a great success. First of all, I would like to thank God for keeping us safe amid this pandemic. I further want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our honorable chief guest, Mrs. Rati Hegde ma'am, to take out time from her busy schedule and grace this event with your inspiring words, ma'am. Thank you once again so much for your words on this day. A special thanks to Dr. Rachna Dubey ma'am, Principal RMLA PG College, for her presence and always blessing us with her words. I further extend my gratitude to Dr. Bhanumati Mishra ma'am, Head Department of English, to organize this webinar amidst this pandemic. I also must thank the organizing student volunteers team for working hard, thick and thin, for last few days to make this webinar a great success. I would like to also thank the Zoom app for providing us the platform without any query.
I further congratulate all the participants for their active and for all the contribution they put to make this webinar a great success. Once again, if I forgot to take anybody's name, I would like to thank each and everybody to be over here for the webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for calling me.
Thank you so much, Ratiji, once again. On behalf of PG College, I am filled with gratitude for you. Thank you. Thank you for your time, effort, and your very, very wise words. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, before ending this event, can we take a picture? Can we take a screenshot?
Oh, sure.
Yes, and for this, I would like to request all, please switch on your cameras for a picture. Thank you very much all again.
And smile, please.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Can we have the picture?
Are we done?
Yes, ma'am, we are done. Thank you so much.
Hope so. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Ratiji,
so much,
once again.
ma'am.
Jai Hind,
Thank you.
Jai Bharat. Thank you.
Jai Hind, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Jai
Ma'am.
I would like to request the core members to please stay back for a few minutes.